August 1st, 2014, Las Vegas. Team USA scrimmage. The gym is packed. Cameras rolling. Basketball royalty watching from the sidelines. Paul George, 24 years old. Max contract in his pocket, All-NBA honors fresh on his resume, is doing what he does best. Defending with everything he's got, he chases down James Harden on a fast break, elevates, reaches for the block, and then the sound echoes through the arena like a gunshot. Paul George collapses. His right leg bent at an angle that shouldn't exist. Players turn away in horror. Kevin Durant covers his face. DeMarcus Cousins walks off in tears. Coach K drops to his knees. The replay is so graphic, ESPN cuts the feed. Social media explodes in shock. The basketball world freezes. In that moment, lying on the floor in agony, Paul George's career, his prime, his future, everything he'd worked for seemed to be over. But it wasn't, because what happened next became one of the greatest comeback stories in NBA history, a story of pain that would break most people, of resilience that inspired millions, and of a player who refused to let one moment define his legacy. This is Paul George, the comeback from the broken leg that shocked the world, and you're watching FYNK. Before we dive into this powerful story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because here on FYNK we don't just cover basketball. We tell the stories that matter, the human stories behind the highlights. Now, let's go back to where it all began. To understand the magnitude of what happened that night in Vegas, you need to understand who Paul George was becoming. June 24th, 2010. NBA Draft. Madison Square Garden. Paul George gets selected 10th overall by the Indiana Pacers. Decent pick. Solid prospect. But nobody, I mean nobody, had predicted what was coming. He was raw, athletic, sure. Long wingspan, yes, but he was the 4th or 5th option on that Pacers team. Danny Granger was the star. George was just supposed to contribute. Rookie year. 7 points per game, quiet, reserved, learning. But something was building inside him. By his second season, the flashes started appearing. A chase-down block here, a smooth three-pointer there. The confidence was growing. Then came the 2012-13 season, and everything changed. Paul George averaged 17 points, became an all-star for the first time, and transformed into one of the elite two-way players in the league. He could guard positions 1 through 4. He could create his own shot. He could take over games. But it was the 2013 playoffs that announced him to the World Eastern Conference Finals. Indiana Pacers versus Miami Heat. LeBron James, in his absolute prime, back-to-back champion, arguably the best player on the planet. And Paul George went right at him. Game 1, George drops 27 points. Goes toe-to-toe with the king. Game 5. With seconds left and Indiana down 1, George gets the ball. He rises up over LeBron, shoots, bang, game winner. The crowd erupts. Paul George stares down LeBron. The message is clear. I'm not afraid of you. Miami eventually won that series in 7 games, but the world had witnessed something special. Paul George wasn't just good. He was next. LeBron himself said after the series, Paul George is special. He's coming. The league better watch out. September 2013. The Pacers don't hesitate. They offer Paul George a maximum contract extension. 5 years, $90 million. At 23 years old, Paul George is now the face of the franchise. The future of Indiana basketball. The 2013-14 season begins, and George is even better. 21.7 points per game. All-NBA third team. All-defensive second team. He's being mentioned alongside Durant, LeBron, and Carmelo as one of the league's elite wings. Everything is pointing up. His prime is just beginning. And then August 2014 arrives. Team USA Basketball, the program that every NBA player dreams of representing. Paul George had just been selected for the 2014 FIBA World Cup team. An honor, a privilege, so a chance to represent his country alongside the best players in the world. The team gathered in Las Vegas for training camp, scrimmages, practice games. Nothing serious, just getting ready for the tournament. August 1st, 2014. A blue versus white scrimmage at the Thomas & Mack Center. Paul George was on the court with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, all-stars everywhere you looked. The intensity was high, but this was still practice, controlled, safe until it wasn't, middle of the scrimmage. James Harden pushes in transition. heading for an easy layup. Paul George, being who he is, a defensive-minded player who gives 100% even in practice, sprints back to contest. He jumps. Timing perfect, hand high to block the shot, but there's a stanchion under the basket, the base that holds up the goal. Standard equipment in every gym, except this one was positioned just a little closer to the baseline than usual. Paul George comes down from his jump. His right leg lands on the base of the stanchion, and his leg gives way. The sound is the first thing people remember, that crack. Loud enough that players on the other end of the court heard it. Paul George hits the floor, and immediately everyone knows this isn't a normal injury. His right leg is bent at a 90-degree angle, midway up his shin. A compound fracture. The bone had broken through the skin. Kevin Durant turns away, hands on his head. DeMarcus Cousins starts crying. Kyrie Irving covers his face. James Harden stands frozen, devastated. Head coach Mike Krzyzewski, the legendary Coach K, who's seen everything in his decades of coaching, drops to his knees beside George. You can see it on his face. This is bad, really bad. Paul George, in shock, pale and trembling, looks down at his leg. He later said the only thing going through his mind was, "I can't believe this is happening. This can't be real." The medical team rushes over. They stabilize his leg. The stretcher comes out, and as Paul George is wheeled off the court, the entire arena is silent. The video goes viral immediately. It's horrific. ESPN shows it once, then makes the decision to stop. Too graphic, too traumatic. Social media explodes. Prayers pour in from around the world. From fans, from players, from rivals. LeBron James tweets, "Just got word on my lil bro PG. Please pray for him." One of the best dudes I know and a true hooper, Kobe Bryant. "Stay strong, our highest trees. Seen it and know it's tough. You'll be back, brother." But behind those prayers was a darker reality that everyone in basketball knew. Injuries like this can end careers. Compound fracture of the tibia and fibula. Both bones in his lower right leg snapped. Surgery was immediate. A titanium rod was inserted into his leg to stabilize the bones. Screws, plates, hours on the operating table. The surgery was successful. But the question wasn't about the operation. It was about the recovery. Kevin Ware had suffered a similar injury in college the year before. It was career-altering. Historically, gruesome leg breaks like this had ended careers. Or at best, players returned as shells of themselves. Paul George was 24 years old. He'd just signed a max contract. He was supposed to be entering his prime. Instead, he was in a hospital bed staring at a leg he couldn't move, wondering if he'd ever play basketball again. The physical pain was excruciating, but the mental and emotional pain, that was worse. Paul George later opened up about those first few months. He said, "I had to learn how to walk again, how to run, how to jump, everything I took for granted since I was a kid. I had to rebuild from zero." But it wasn't just the physical rehab. It was the fear that he'd never be the same player. The fear that the explosion, the quickness, the elevation, all gone. The fear that he'd become a cautionary tale instead of a superstar. He watched highlights of himself from the playoffs. The dunks, the chase-down blocks, the game winners. And he wondered, is that guy gone forever? At night, he'd replay the injury in his mind. Over and over, the jump, the landing. The cracked depression crept in. Doubt became a constant companion. His teammates visited. His family supported him. But ultimately, Paul George was alone with his thoughts and his broken leg. While George fought through rehab, the NBA kept spinning. The 2014-15 season started without him. LeBron James returned to Cleveland. The Warriors were rising behind Steph Curry. The Pacers, without their star, struggled. George watched from home. Every game, every highlight. A reminder of what he was missing. The league had moved on, and that terrified him. Would there even be a place for him when he came back? Would teams still fear him? Would fans still chant his name? Or would he be remembered as the guy who broke his leg in that Team USA scrimmage? But here's what separates champions from everyone else. When the world counts them out, they work harder. Paul George became obsessed with his rehab every single day. No days off, no shortcuts, no excuses. His trainer would later say, "I've worked with hundreds of athletes. I've never seen anyone attack rehab the way Paul did. It wasn't about motivation. It was deeper than that. It was about proving something to himself. First, he had to learn to walk without crutches. Painful, slow, frustrating. Then came light jogging. His leg would swell. The pain would shoot up. But he kept going. Then came running, jumping, landing. All the things that led to the injury. He had to conquer the fear and do them again. Months passed. Progress was measured in inches, not miles. But Paul George never quit April 5, 2015. Less than 8 months after his injury. Paul George was cleared to return to basketball. 8 months. Most doctors said it would take at least a year, maybe more. The Pacers were cautious. They limited his minutes, monitored everything. But when he stepped on the court for the first time, the crowd in Indianapolis went absolutely insane. A standing ovation that lasted minutes. Grown men crying in the stands. Players from both teams clapping. He played only 6 games that season. Limited minutes. Restricted movements. But the message was sent. Paul George was back, not fully, not yet. But he was back. And he was coming for everything he'd lost opening night of the 2015-16 season. Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Paul George is back. For real this time. The question everyone had. Could he still do it? Could he still be PG-13? First quarter. George gets the ball in transition. Defender in front of him. He rises up. The arena explodes. That question? Answered immediately. Paul George wasn't just back. He was back. That season, George averaged 23.1 points, 7 rebounds, and 4.1 assists per game. He made the All-Star team, his 3rd selection. He led Indiana back to the playoffs. 7th seed. Fought hard against the Raptors in the first round before falling in 7 games. But the stats don't tell the full story. It was the way he played. Fearless, attacking, no hesitation, no fear of contact, no fear of landing. He drove to the rim with the same explosiveness. He defended with the same intensity. He took over games in the 4th quarter. The broken leg hadn't slowed him down. If anything, it had made him hungrier. In interviews, George talked about how the injury changed him mentally. He said, "I appreciate every moment now. Every game, every play, because I know how quickly it can be taken away. I don't take anything for granted anymore." That mindset, that gratitude combined with hunger, made him dangerous. He wasn't just playing basketball. He was making a statement. I'm still here. I'm still elite. And I'm not going anywhere. There were doubters. Of course, there were analysts who said he'd never be the same. Fans who worried about re-injury. Scouts who questioned if he could sustain his level of play. Paul George used all of it as fuel. 16-17 season, 23.7 points per game. Another All-Star selection. All-NBA 3rd team. He was officially back among the NBA elite. But then another twist in his story. Summer of 2017. Paul George is traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's a blockbuster move. He's paired with Russell Westbrook, one of the most explosive players in the league. Carmelo Anthony joins them. A new big 3. For George, it's a fresh start. New city, new challenge, higher expectations, and he rises to meet them. 2018-19 season. This is the year Paul George reminds the world who he is. He averages 28 points, 8.2 rebounds, 4.1 assists, and 2.2 steals per game. Not just scoring, not just defense, everything. He finishes 3rd in MVP voting, behind only Giannis, Antetokounmpo, and James. Harden 3rd in the entire NBA, 4.5 years after a career-threatening injury. Let that sink. In February 22, 2019, Oklahoma City Thunder versus Utah Jazz double. Overtime, Paul George plays 46 minutes, drops 45 points, hits clutch shot after clutch shot. With seconds left in the second overtime, Thunder down 1, George gets the ball at the top of the key. He drives, floats it over Rudy Gobert. Swish. Game winner. The crowd erupts. His teammates mob him. And in that moment, a new nickname is born. MVPG, not Playoff P, not PG-13, MVPG, because that's what he was that season. A legitimate MVP candidate. One of the 5 best players in the world. From broken leg to MVP candidate. That's not just a comeback. That's a resurrection. Paul George is traded to the LA Clippers alongside Kawhi Leonard. The hype is massive. Championship favorites. The new kings of LA, but the pressure, even bigger. Then came the 2020 NBA bubble and the collapse. The Clippers blow a 3-1 lead to Denver in the second round. George struggles. His shooting is off. The criticism is vicious. Pandemic P, they call him. The memes flood social media. The jokes are relentless. For a player who had overcome so much, this was a different kind of pain. Public humiliation, the world laughing at him. But if you know Paul George's story, you know how this ends 2021 playoffs. Kawhi Leonard goes down with a knee injury in the second round. The Clippers' championship hopes seem over. Everyone writes them off, except Paul George. He puts the team on his back, carries them past the Jazz, fights through injuries himself. Game 5 versus Phoenix in the Western Conference Finals, 41 points. Everything on the line. No Kawhi, just Paul George and his will to win. The Clippers eventually lose that series, but George had done something more important. He silenced the doubters again, not with words, with performance, with heart. With the same resilience that got him back from that broken leg, Paul George signs with the Philadelphia 76ers. A new chapter, but his legacy is already written. First-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Defensive Team, Olympic gold medalist, but more than the accolades, it's what he represents. Every time Paul George steps on the court, that scar on his right leg tells a story of a moment that could have ended everything, a story of a player who refused to let it, a story of resilience, heart, and the power of refusing to quit. This isn't just a basketball story, it's a human story. Paul George's comeback teaches us that setbacks don't define you, your response does. When that leg broke, Paul George had every reason to give up. The pain, the fear, the uncertainty, but he didn't. He fought. Every single day. Resilience is built in the dark. The world saw the highlights, the All-Star selections, the MVP voting. But they didn't see the 5 a.m. rehab sessions, the nights of doubt, the moments when giving up seemed easier than continuing. That's where Paul George built his comeback. In the shadows, alone with his determination. Greatness isn't about perfection, it's about perseverance. Paul George has had struggles, playoff disappointments, criticism, hate, but through it all he kept showing up, kept working, kept proving that heart can't be measured in stats. The scar is proof today. When Paul George takes the court, that scar on his right leg is visible. Some players would hide it, cover it up, try to forget. But George wears it like a badge of honor, because it's not a symbol of weakness. It's proof of strength, proof that he survived, proof that he came back, proof that he's still standing. From shattered bones to All-NBA honors, from lying on a stretcher to standing with the best players in the world, from doubt and despair to MVP candidate, Paul George's journey will forever stand as one of the most inspiring stories in basketball history. Because this isn't a story about basketball talent. It's a story about the human spirit, about refusing to let one moment, and no matter how devastating, write your final chapter, about getting up. Every single time. This was Paul George, the comeback from the broken leg that shocked the world. And you're watching FYNK. If this story inspired you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss these powerful stories. Drop a comment below. What's your favorite Paul George moment? And what challenges have you overcome in your own life? This is FYNK, where we tell the stories behind the legends. We'll see you in the next one.